Welcome, folks, to the Squeaky Wheel. And I know you're wondering what day it is, and it happens to be National Pecan Cookie Day. But it also happens to be National Farm Animals Week. Lawrence, give me your thoughts on that.
Sorry, what was that? National Pecan Week?
Yeah, Pecan Cookie Week.
Oh, my God. I've had pecans, I think, at one time. Not a huge fan.
Really, we're probably all more familiar with like pecan pie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, I don't know really what to say about pecan pie.
or pecan cookies. Hey, I'm not a big fan of putting nuts into all the cookies. Hey, chocolate chips, right? That goes back to that whole trust issue when your mom would put raisins in and it looks like chocolate chips. But yes, for all of you out there who are listening, it is National Pecan Cookie. It also happens to be National Farm Animals Week. I'm pretty sure you got to have some kind of comment about that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every once in a while, I do smell like a farm animal. So,
if it was up to me, I would have some kind of a farm animal in my backyard, and yet the city doesn't allow it.
Oh, I know. Well, they allow chickens.
Well, we're getting there, and I know it's just a matter of time, but the hardest part about having that many chickens to me would be naming them all.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just constantly evolving different names as I'm trying to, the first one's going to be Lawrence.
Well, you name a chicken, how do you
you
tell
eat
the
it
difference, right? Like another one comes by.
Oh, I know them all. I'd know their waddle
right.
and the way they shake. So welcome, folks, to the Squeaky Wheel. Lawrence, let's talk because Audrey just put out a video. We need to encourage people. So this is Audrey Poitras, the president of the Métis Nation of Alberta. It's time we are going to be preparing to vote on the Constitution. Now, it would be the draft of the Constitution from what I understand.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're pretty excited about it. I mean, to even get this far, now it's in the hands of our members province-wide. And if they vote no, they vote no. Mm-hmm. And if they vote yes, well, then we kind of move ahead in that direction. But, yeah, it's, the first time I think we've had this in the province pretty much ever.
Yeah, we talked about it early 1800s, and then the duration of time it took until we had our sort of real government, as it were, the provisional government in Manitoba. That's the late 1800s. Folks, we're in the 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it is pretty monumental, and hopefully it's the right agreement. I'm going to look to myself.
And it's going to be a way for us to start a conversation with Canada as a nation. And, I've had a few conversations with people recently, and they're, well, why do we need this? Well, this is more of a conversation about the Métis as distinct peoples. The Métis having this history of having land stripped, the biggest land swindle, the Métis never having identity, never being provided a place to live. This is to ensure that conversation happens.
Yeah, and it stops that notion of people thinking we're just a club and we're just a membership organization.
Mm-hmm. We're not a social group.
Yeah, and we're not a part of the Society Act. We're an actual nation.
Yeah.
And when we speak to Canada, we'll be a nation-to-nation government.
And no, I recognize in conversation with people that we all need to work to live harmoniously. There's no doubt in my mind. But what do we do about the wrongs? What do we do about the notion that the government had said, here's what we're going to provide? Well, and actually, we're not going to provide that.
Yeah, it stops them from certainly picking and choosing what they want year to year, according to their budget, right? When we work on this nation-to-nation agreement, we'll have a set amount of dollars that will never really change until both sides really come to an equal decision. So that lends itself a lot of rights for us as Métis people, and we can practice that.
And I'm supportive. I'd like to see that we work to share healthcare. We work to share the experience in health, that we continue to connect everybody. But we also need to recognize that there was some unique cultural, misallowances. This sort of the government saying, well, you know what, here, we're going to give you some land. I know what, and we're going to take it back. Well, actually, this guy's going to buy it from you. Well, you can live on the road allowance. That, I think, is the conversation that still needs to be had.
Yeah, the whole script system and what it was, what it represented, all that stuff will be spoke about here pretty quick. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Now we can have that conversations directly with them and certainly work on some of those issues of the past and look to the future. That's the most important.
And speaking of the future, if you go to albertametis.com or you follow us along TSW at thesqueakywheel.ca, you can find out a lot more information. There's sports and rec grants are coming out for all of the young our young students. There's Capital Housing is actually having a big push. The Métis community up in Griesbach, I think, has 127 affordable units. So if you're a family that's looking to, find any support, explore this. There might be an opportunity there for you. There's a aspiring harvester courses coming out, for those community groups. Now that's still something that's a bit in the contentious issue. We don't really have a relationship with the province when it comes to harvesting areas south
of the Red Deer River.
South of the Red Deer River.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we can in Region 3 practice it above it. So Rocky Mountain House, those areas, certainly along the edge. But yeah, our map, I get it. I mean, they're basing it on a court decision, years ago that really was, I think, didn't really hear our side of the story. There was a lot of issues with that Hersecorn case.
Right.
So they're basing it on that decision on that. Versus Canada is a little different. They see us certainly within southern Alberta as part of the homeland map. So, yeah.
And that's one of the challenges is when the province goes, well, and again, we've brought this up before. Wow, there wasn't really any Métis people south of Red Deer. Really? Because you seem to put them in residential schools and you seem to, have artifacts that have been located and archaeological digs seem to identify. So I'm unsure, based on the way the Red River cart path worked, that there weren't Métis here.
Yeah, and most importantly, it's those kinship ties because, Métis, in order to traverse in certain territories and get those permissions from those First Nations, a lot of them had to be married in. And we're quite aware here at the Métis Nation of those marriages, right? But we never had an opportunity to stand up in Hersecorn and actually tell what those kinship ties were. Mm-hmm. So that really hurt us. And then, of course, having a neighbor who was murdered, one of the judge's neighbors murdered by one of the people who was on the docket, right, was a bit of an issue for sure.
Oof. We're going to have to talk a little bit more about that. There's reading about a bunch of things that are happening around our community. If you go to albertametis.com, you'll find there's a speaker series that's going to be happening. Tune in to Alexa Lizotte for Dressing Sustainable. And this is a environment and climate change speaker spotlight. She speaks about hardships of her own, other northern communities that have faced irresponsible use of resources and how to make healthier choices, in this case, in wardrobes. I will try to jump in on it. It's on September 27th. But again, you can always go to albertametis.com and find a lot of these things. There's a lot more information when it comes to how the Métis Nation wants to understand how do we want to build the conversation around shaping environment and climate change. And there's initiatives that are being put forward, but they also want to ask the community. And here are opportunities for you to input. And in fact, I think you can get a $100 gift card if you or put your name in forward to be drawn for if you commit a little bit of time to answering some of these. What is your interest when it comes to protecting the environment?
Well, I mean, that's a great, asking people what that actually means. Companies have to certainly, when they look at investment and all that stuff and getting into that area, have this ESG sort of checklist they got to do. So that's environment, social, and governance. Mm-hmm. And each one sort of identifies you, your company, whether or not you have all those three things. And then that you'll attract investors from that too. Right. So companies are certainly going through that process now. Mm-hmm. But now environment, who are they going to look to get that sort of input? Social, who are they going to look to get that input? And governance, right? Well, I would really suggest these companies come and see the Indigenous community to get a lot of that input and not trying to figure it out themselves. Yeah. Because we might have the answer for all those things.
Right. We can guide people. All they have to do is reach out to us as a result of the notion that consultation and engagement means you've reached out to the Métis community, the First Nation, the Inuit communities, saying, how do we get involved in your community? And now allow us to provide the environment sort of conversation and then allow us to help guide you to say, thank you for participating in the conversation.
Yeah, that's right. And we have opportunities where our Indigenous communities get together business-wise, and we talk about these things. But, but now we're starting to see all these initiatives from companies starting to go. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, because I've accepted a board position for an ESG company.
Oh.
So now we're moving into that area. We haven't made that announcement yet, but that's something that I've kind of, will lend my expertise and opinions and give my input. But I think so companies are starting to be conscious of that.
Well, and that's important. Again, they need to have the governance on their side that says, have we done our part?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited, Lawrence. I know we're going to learn more about that as we continue to move forward in our usual conversations that we have. So our weekly fun conversations. But here's the next one that I find interesting. And, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how we move forward when it comes to the environment. Electric Vehicle Expo is happening up in Edmonton. Did you know, quote, that the transportation industry is currently responsible for 30% of greenhouse gas emissions and 42% of energy use in Edmonton? So they're having an expo on the September 24th and 25th from 10 to 6 at Edmonton Expo Center to come and talk about how to commute sustainably. Electric Hydrogen Vehicle Expo. Obviously, I'm fully supportive of trying to figure out any ways to protect our environment.
Yeah.
We never talk about how much energy is required to create the batteries, create the energy for this electric vehicle.
Yeah.
And I know if you could, like in the movies, like Mission Impossible all the time, you can power cities with a device that's the size of your thumb. It's not here yet, right? It's not here. I once read an article, and now, please, if you're going to correct me, make sure you fire us an email at ross@thesqueakywheel.ca or Lawrence, firehead. But it takes more energy to make a solar power panel than would ever be recovered by building them. So what happens to them afterwards? We need to be a part of that conversation that says, if we're going to build these products, how do we use them in the future? How do we how do we build on the technology? And I get it. We do need to build the technologies in order to study them.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet where, just get on that electric scooter and ride across Canada.
Yeah. I think they're sort of, we've had the electric vehicles for a little while now. Mm-hmm. Now they're thinking about electric planes, right?
Right.
And, we have to look at, what happens to that, I would say, that technology over time, right? And it seems like the battery is always the issue.
Right.
So now they're looking at these hybrid models of hydrogen equal to electricity and using a battery plus also filling up on hydrogen. But right now you'd have to find the hydrogen, even the stations, right? They still got to build all those. Mm-hmm. So I think where it's going is kind of good, but there's so much technology and so much thought has to be put into these things because it's not just electric cars anymore. They are breaking down a little bit. And it's around that battery component. And
the thing, a friend of mine came to me the other day and he's really excited. He's like, look I got this new electric bike. And I'm looking at him. Well, he could ride that bike to the gym. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but are you going to ride your electric bike to the gym just so you can go get on a stationary bike at the gym? I don't quite understand. If this is part health, why not just ride a bike? Right, I can't justify one. I need to ride my bike. Folks, if any of you want to give us a gym membership, we'd be happy to accept it as well. This is what people need. Maybe they're just caught up in the excitement.
Well, if they allowed those bikes in the Tour de France, that would be pretty cool. But all those guys are souped up anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who is the Lance Armstrong. Yeah, that's right.
He was definitely souped up.
He was and then he finally admitted to it. Poor Sheryl Crow. And maybe that's it. We always talked, it was always kind of funny. There was that notion that why not have the Olympics where you just take as much steroids as you want? Guys are lifting Buicks above their head, spinning them around. Maybe that's with the Tour de France. Maybe that is what it had become. But maybe you're right. Electric bicycle Tour de France. They're going 800 miles an hour.
That would be sweet. Yeah.
Jumping entire cities. It'd be like the X Games, I guess, of electric bicycle
Well,
racing.
they'd be dodging tourists with their signs, right? Because they're always standing in the road, right?
Well, there was that lady who put her sign out last year that ended up wiping out a couple of bikes. Oh man. Yeah, she wasn't helpful to the race.
No. But they are pretty close. But the rally cars I seen, those crowds are pretty close too. So
Yeah, and when those cars come off the track, a lot of damage happens. So yeah, I think we need to continue to be a part. And an environmental social governance means consult, engage. If this is happening in your community, ask about it and look into it. Another fun thing that's happening is the ASCII Community Monitoring Initiative in its 5th year. So these are one of another group that is still obviously very interested in asking, how do we want to shape our future? So this is a talk about sustainable fabrics. There's no shortage of information that's happening out there. And another thing that I was looking at was out on the West Coast, as high tide rolls into Parks Canada, the employees are looking at a clam bed restoration. So their goal is, how do we go back to traditional methods of, say, harvesting? In this case, it's harvesting clams. Here's a community that's lost the ability for what we used to be a practice of going out there and collecting a certain amount of food. So we're starting to see this on the coastlines as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's, again, we're trying to always work to protect our coastlines. We're trying to work to complement how we, protect sustainable resources. And BC wants to do a lot, right? They're the first to step up, but they're also the first to say Alberta shouldn't charge more for natural gas or oil. And we want it here, but we don't want you to environmentally cause any damage. But yeah, can you support all of our cruise ships?
Yeah, well, BC, God, they're always in the sort of in between. They pay the highest tax.
Yeah.
Alberta pays the lowest tax for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of our economic-based companies are here, right? And Vancouver, or people in BC, and especially my relatives, look at Albertans as, well, you can't come over here, but we want to share some of what you guys make, right?
Yeah.
Type attitude, right? And sometimes it doesn't work.
It's very nationalist approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no offense to anybody from BC.
If you're going to email anybody, if you're from BC, make sure you email Lawrence at thesqueakywheel.ca.
But and you're right. The shorelines and the waterways, all those things that, as us Indigenous people, we learn from when we're young that whatever you take from the earth, you give back, right? And some people have been taking. And now we have all these riparian efforts to maintain coastlines and shorelines everywhere, because that's the real important thing for fish and habitat, right? And when you start taking water away, it starts to obviously dwindle, which will affect nature, right? So we're trying to certainly figure out ways, and having clams back, I think is wonderful.
That should be a place that we start. But do we bring our own sauce? Do they provide the sauce when we get there, or am I missing the part?
But I always worry about this, though. It's like this fish farm thing.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want that situation to sort of happen where people are getting sick because the fish are sick, right?
And then you see that, we're going to create these trout farms. We're going to create these salmon farms. Well, it's not the right type of salmon, and then that affects the salmon that is indigenous to that area.
Yeah.
But the people hear the term salmon. Oof. Well, yeah, but it's not the same, and that's
when you slice open a salmon, you'll see how pink it is, right? That is a real true salmon, not the stuff you see that's orange, looks like a pumpkin that you buy at Superstore,
yeah,
right. It's a different color. And texture and all that too, right? So we find what we're consuming now is not what we've done in the past.
Right, wild caught versus what we're doing for sustainability, or what we're doing when it comes to just farming in order to try and provide.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, a real fun thing I was just reading about, Lawrence, was the University of Saskatchewan. Replica of a Red River cart has been installed in front of McLean Hall, home of Gabrielle Dumont College, at the Saskatchewan Urban Native Teacher Education Program. So this, I think, was started 40 years ago. And I saw a picture of it. Maybe I'll try to get Leighton to throw it up there. But it's a beautiful cart that's being placed, and that is a symbol of recognition.
No, it's wonderful. I think, but we do have a Red River cart manufacturer here.
That's right.
At Rocky Mountain House. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's getting busy. Yeah.
Well, as the awareness starts to come about, if anybody wants to support the Squeaky Wheel, in this case, if we could order us one made entirely of gold, Lawrence and I would like to display it here. And then maybe sell it for a little bit of a profit. But
if anybody actually wants to see them in person, they are at Rocky Mountain House. In fact, I think there's about 3 or 4 just when you drive in.
Is that right?
See these full-scale replica
I think
carts.
originally we had talked about it. Wasn't he building like 12 to 15 a year? Like it was one a month, which at the time he was already almost behind.
Yeah, and they look pretty authentic. Like they're sturdy looking. Yeah, definitely.
Well, and we've talked about this. If we could make one that's electric driven,
yeah,
you and I could be riding that to and from our podcasts.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah.
Now, I see you got a flag behind us, Lawrence. Grab that. This is part, there's that one, but this is part of our Lawrence's Education Minute.
So we'll look at, this is an original battle flag too, right? This was 1816, the one that they raised at, victory at Frog Plain.
The infinity symbol, yeah.
Yeah. So we've been using that for a while, but then this was the one that was raised in Saskatchewan during the Battle of Batoche. So Maison, Hôtel, Surtout, Liberté. I'm sorry, my French isn't that great.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was French or just sort of broken English.
Yeah. But it's kind of saying, it's praying to God to guide us just like the wolf to protect our homes, right? Above, liberty. And that's, certainly that they raised that for a long time. But people looked at it and went, whoa, that's a little different, right?
Is there like an original? Like, is it housed anywhere that you know of? Like, because I'd be curious, was it stitched? Did they just use fabric? And the idea that this was their battle flag.
Yeah, they use fabric. I mean, they use fabric for that one too.
Right.
But as far as the original, no, I have no idea.
Now, this was at Batoche.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was the Saskatchewan government that they set up. Now we've had, certainly about a dozen more Métis flags ever risen in different times. But these two are the predominant ones. This one I use for camping, so people stay out of my campsite.
Do you wear like a what do you call it? What the superheroes? A cape. Do you wear like a cape?
Yeah.
So you're the guy running from campsite to campsite.
Yeah, and wolf's ears too, right? And sometimes you hear me howling at nighttime. So.
How come I know you're wearing some kind of one of those puppy dog tails as well? So all of a sudden things start to open up when it comes to knowing you a little bit deeper. Now I'm starting to get a little more nervous.
But no, we were raised around, at least this flag, which is interesting because we didn't know too much about even the Métis flag.
Right.
But we knew more about this.
Because there's always the conversation about the red infinity versus the blue infinity.
Yeah, and then people, if you've ever seen the green one with the fleur-de-lis on that, that's also, and with a buffalo, that was also another Métis flag. Right.
We're going to have to do, just like, did you ever watch the TV show with the nerds? Well, they weren't nerds. They were, oh no. Okay, if you're a nerd, which I am, I'm in the world of MIT and Harvard, and I own a cyber company, so I am a nerd. So you can throw that out there. But Big Bang Theory.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually, I was down at Universal probably, whatever it was, maybe 6-7 months ago, and I actually got to sit at the set of the Big Bang Theory. Pretty excited because that's pretty cool. Yeah. But they Sheldon did a online talk every week about fun with flags. That's what we should be doing on our show. Maybe that's not a bad. We should be ordering up all the Métis flags, having a conversation about them.
Yeah, we should actually. That sounds like fun. I mean, I'm on Métis nerd history.
Oh,
right,
nerd all day long. Yeah,
but I mean, I would definitely be all over that.
I'm STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But still, I combine that nerdness and geekness, and I love it. I will go to machine learning and artificial intelligence stuff all day long. I love that. I am 100% geek. But so yeah, now all of a sudden all the geeks, hopefully we start to get more geeks clicking on subscribing to us. Yes, when you're watching us on YouTube, please do what you can, folks. It really means a lot to us when you click that little red subscribe button, and it allows you to help follow us along, and it encourages our sponsors to continue to be a part of our conversation.
And we're not being offensive when we say geek.
No, not at all. I am a geek. I love it.
I mean, we can change the term to big brained or something like that.
Okay.
Or
big Métis brain. Well, that's going to offend somebody as well. Now, all of a sudden, we have too big a brain. Even though she didn't win, Edmonton-based entrepreneur Mallory Yagwe, she was on the APTN reality show Bear's Lair. And I had read about this. It seems like the judges had changed, or the people who are going to be investing over time, but it looks like it's finally gone on. So it started airing, looks like last Sunday. Each episode features 3 different businesses pitching their product or services to the bears of 5 different established Indigenous professionals for a chance to win funding from a pool of almost $180,000 and mentorship opportunities. So it opens businesses the chance, just like the Dragon's Den, the Shark's Tank. There it is. Yeah, which was the American one.
Yep.
Which I think had considerably more money than 180,000.
But it had some of the guys, entrepreneurs from ours, Dragon's Den.
From the Dragon's Den, yeah. So obviously they saw it as an idea. From what I understand, and I don't imagine, though I guess I shouldn't say anything, those ones, the big ones, they ended up pretty much owning a portion of your company.
That's what they're after.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're investing their dollars, right? But they want percentages.
Yeah. And you're going to them to pitch. You're the one doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nothing 2-3% stuff. It's right for 49 or 30 or 20.
Yeah. Now I'm curious, Lawrence, if we went on the Bears Lair to pitch the Squeaky Wheel, what percentage are we willing to give away? And I would have to assume we value ourselves, let's say $1 million an episode. And if we're coming up on 100 episodes, that makes us worth $100 million. Our valuation.
Quite possibly. I mean, if a company would sit there and rifle through all of the 98,
the work that we've done.
Yeah. And just get all the good stuff, which you probably could in 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, that's right.
You'd probably have a fairly decent document after that.
So if any of you are interested in participating in our show as investors, it's about $10 million. To 10 to 100. You send us a number back of somewhere in between there, and we can negotiate. This is like our own muskrat lair.
Well, if they had a research department that's willing to sit through all those episodes,
that's right.
Have at her. But you'll have a very significant, good Métis document, I think.
I think you will. Let's talk a little bit of sports to finish our show, Lawrence.
Sure.
Blue Jays, I think, are on a tear. We're seeing great baseball, great energy. The guys seem like they're having fun, and we're getting down to the wire here.
Well, I think that's what it is, getting down to the wire. Even though Blue Jays pitcher, I guess this is not airing, but the Sunday game, he totally crapped the bed.
Oh, Romano.
Yeah.
Yeah, he blew the save, which is his first blown save.
Since June or something like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we need consistent pitching, but I think they have to have what it takes to compete. I think they're going to have to get past the Yankees eventually.
And you are going to lose the occasional game. That's just the way it is. At the start of the season, we all wondered if the Yankees were ever going to lose another game. Like, they were just so far ahead. And then all of a sudden it came to a crashing halt. They couldn't seem to win a game. Yeah. And now it's starting to even out. So we are in a close hunt. Yeah.
But I mean, imagine, like, he'll probably be at 60 home runs or past Aaron Judge, right?
Yeah.
And then all the rest of the field, they're down. Nobody's past 40 home runs. He's at 60.
Yeah.
And there's nobody even around him.
But the occasional one hit home run is not winning games for them. So
no. And Guerrero, he should really be, at least hitting 45, 50. But he's slumping too.
He's slumping a little bit, but we're winning games as ball teams. That's what is happening, and I'm happy to see about that. And Eugenie Bouchard is playing good tennis again. The Leila Fernandez has been doing well. Didn't take us as far as I was hoping into the U.S. Open, but back playing good tennis. Good tennis is happening all around. It's coming slowly to the end of the season. Football's getting started up, and our beloved Stamps lost a fabulous game to BC in overtime. So,
well, apparently NFL has a veteran rule that you can have an extra day off because you're a veteran. And Tom Brady now has Wednesdays off from his football team to be at home to rest his old body.
Oh, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I was reading about that yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what? They probably should. And because there's no football on Wednesdays, usually that's a perfect day to give him off.
Well, isn't he like 45 now?
Oh, I don't think he's that old. I thought he only turned 40, 42 or 41 or something like that.
Yeah, he's up there anyways. The best time you can tell Tom Brady his age is when he has to run more than 10 feet.
Yeah, he tends to see the field pretty
He looks
well.
like a giraffe, yeah.
It's been another week at the Squeaky Wheel. I hope we turned the wheel enough that it got you listening. Hopefully gets you out to vote as we continue to have the conversation about Constitution. From all of us behind the scenes, from the President, Lawrence Gervais, from myself, Ross, Memphis, Pambrun, I can't say thank you enough. Make sure you continue to connect with us and share your conversation and share our conversation with everybody. Keep it squeaking, and best wishes. The Squeaky Wheel is brought to you by the Squeaky Wheel Company, co-hosted by the President, Lawrence Gervais, from M&A Region 3, and the Captain, Ross, Memphis, Pambrun. Our program is broadcast from Calgary, in Region 3 of the Métis Nation of Alberta, which is part of the historic Métis Nation homeland. We also acknowledge these lands are the traditional territories of Treaty 7, Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Pecan, Tsuut'ina, and Stoney Nakoda, with whom we share this land on the basis of our historical and ongoing relationships. You can always reach us for comment about our programming by email at tsw@thesqueakywheel.ca or find us on our website, www.squeakywheel.ca, and our socials. For our comments, it is our focus to recognize all of our First Nations and Indigenous friends, share a connection with Métis settlements, and listen to and show respect to our Métis brothers and sisters and families. Here at the Squeaky Wheel, we give thanks to our elders for their guidance and to Mother Earth for her time she allows us to be here and share her bounty. From all of us at the Squeaky Wheel, Tansi.